Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Callum, joined here by Paul today, and we're going to be giving our thoughts on Everton's 1-0 win against Brentford at Goodison Park. First of all, Paul, I guess the simple thing is, how did you feel after the game?
Oh, mightily relieved. I wasn't confident of this game. It's one of those matches on paper in the weeks leading up to the fixture where you think, yeah, we should win that. That's a very winnable fixture. But the form Brentford have been in, were they unbeaten in something like 14 Premier League games prior to
Yeah,
yesterday?
something stupid like that, and they haven't lost a home game since like October.
Yeah, they're a very underrated side, Brentford, with a very, very good manager and some really, top level players, I think, in certain positions. They're just a team that does damage, even to, the teams at the top of the table. Like, they'll go and give Liverpool, City, Man United, Arsenal a game any day, won't they? And it was one of those fixtures where I thought, considering, all the teams around us have been picking up points and the fact that we played one game more than everyone else, it was a fixture we couldn't afford to not win. A draw wouldn't have been good enough for me. So the fact that we managed to squeak it out and get 3 points, again, every home game, especially play, is a cup final. It doesn't matter how we perform or how we do it. We just have to get the points. And the fact that we managed to get all three was most welcome. It's made everyone, I think, feel a lot more confident going forwards that we can pull this off and that we are going to manage to survive. Long way to go yet, but we can beat teams like Brentford. Even then, there's a lot of teams that we're going to play for the end of the season. I'm confident we can beat as well.
Yeah, because you look at the way beating Brentford, I don't know if anyone here watched Brentford Fulham, but Brentford made a Fulham side challenging for Europe look like a championship side again. They absolutely dominated them. So I came into this weekend thinking, we are going to get absolutely annihilated here. Ivan Toney's going to have a field day. Then I saw Michael Keane starting, and I was like, I don't want to rag on the guy, and I won't because he had a good game, I think, the other day. But I just saw that, and I was like, oh, here we go again. I know what's coming here. Ivan Toney's going to body slam Michael Keane and score a hat-trick. But no, I thought we played really well, and to score a goal like that in the first minute, I think that goal from McNeil really sums up his time under Dyche at us right now, to be honest with
you. Yeah, I get what you mean. McNeil's had a very odd season, hasn't he? When he first signed, a lot of people were not happy about it. I was someone who stuck up for him and said that he had a use and that he'd be a squad player who could make a difference over the course of a season for the better. First few weeks of the season didn't go well for him. He was kind of messed about a bit, played in all different types of positions. And then even when Frank Lampard started, playing him predominantly in one place out wide, his performances still weren't up to it, were he? And I am going to admit I lost patience with him. I've been really critical of him the last few weeks, and I'm going to keep being critical of him because when I stuck up for him, he was crap. And the minute I started slagging him off, he's actually turned it around, started playing very well in the last few fixtures. So I'm going to keep saying he's rubbish and hoping that he keeps playing well and proving me wrong. Yeah, you don't know what to say, do you? Is it because Dyche is just the perfect manager for him? Is Dyche just a good manager who knows how to get the best out of I'd say a limited player, a player who's got ability, but a player who is limited? Or is he a really good player who would play well under most managers and he just wasn't doing well for Lampard because Lampard's that bad? It's hard to know, isn't it? But we've just got to hope that he keeps scoring goals for us. Because there's one thing McNeil has undeniably got. It's a great left foot. He can strike a ball. So he should be taking all Everton's free kicks. He should be taking all Everton's corners for me. And something that Dyche has been saying repeatedly, hasn't he? Fair play. He needs to start shooting more. We'll forgive him if he has shots and he misses. Because at least he's trying. I think, especially in a way, when we're away as well, when the fans don't seem to kind of lose patience as quickly as we do at Goodison. When players are actually going for goal and trying to make something happen, fans won't get on the back over it. It's only when players are bottling out of taking the final, making the final pass or making the final part of the play, which is trying to have a go at goal. It's only when players bottle out of doing that fans kind of get frustrated and start getting on the back. So as long as players are trying to take chances, then it only bodes well for the future because we've got players in our team who I think are capable of finishing. They've got goals in them. They just haven't shown it this season. Dwight McNeil's got half a dozen goals in him a season, I think. Iwobi's probably got half a dozen goals in him a season. Damari Gray's got half a dozen goals in him a season. Maybe even Morpay has got half a dozen goals in him a season. And now I don't like Morpay, but he should have more than what he's got for Everton, undoubtedly. And Whether he plays, any significant part under Dyche going forwards, who knows? But it just seems like all these players who, as limited as they are, were underperforming for so long, seem to be finally getting back to the normal levels again, and it's only going to help us. And we need to hope that basically that a lot of players who are out of form come back into form and rediscover themselves. Because if they don't, we're more than likely going to go down. But I'm glad that finally we seem to be putting up a fighting chance. It doesn't feel as hopeless as it did maybe 6-7 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think I've lost my words. I think the improvement in performance has been massive under Dyche, and I think that's why, even the frustrating games, I don't think fans have, or a lot of fans, usually I think of Everton Twitter and I think, oh, here we go, as soon as we lose a game. It's actually been a lot more calm than usual, and I think it's because, even the games we've lost, beside the only one, I forgot we played now when we lost them, we should have lost them.
Was it?
Villa. That was it.
Villa, yeah.
I know there's a bit of frustration after Forest as well, but I think you look at the performances and without a recognised good striker, let's put it like that, to be nice to Mob, a recognised good striker, I think these past few games, I think we're still finding a way to score one, which is a weird thing because, it's the amount of chances. You look at that Brentford game, and it's so weird coming out of a game against Brentford with how crap we've been and going, yeah, 100% should have had more. I'm not going to rag on Onana too much because he was slipping. He was leaning back as he thingy. The guy's not Zidane. I know it was a bit of an open net, but I kind of didn't expect him to bury that one. I saw the angle he was at.
I think he's carrying a knock out as well, Onana, and he's still. You got to remember, people don't think it because of the size of him. Lukaku kind of had the same issue as well when he came to. Well, it's not even an issue; it's just a misconception. People seem to think that he's a lot closer to being a finished article than he really is. He's 20, 21. Do you know what I mean? He's not 25, 26. He's still growing into his body. He probably hasn't got his full man strength yet. He's still learning to adjust to the Premier League. It's a lot faster than anything he's used to. He's probably not even mentally or physically a fully developed man yet. So I think Onana, even though his levels seem to have dropped the last couple of months, he's still going to be a massively important part of our effort to stay up. And whether he stays beyond this summer or not, I think that will depend on what happens with us, whether we survive or go down. But let's just say, in an ideal world, we stay up and Onana stays. I think he's going to be hugely important for Everton. He's going to be a player who I think the ceiling's the limit for him. I really think he's going to go on and have a fantastic career. Whether it's at Everton in the long term or whether he moves on in the short term. But going back to what you mentioned before, we do finally seem to again to look like a team that's got goals in us. Finally, we scored 2 against Nottingham Forest. We should have scored 2 yesterday. We could have had 3 or 4 against Aston Villa easily. I agree with what you said. I think people were gutted about the Aston Villa result, but no one was angry about it because we didn't do a lot wrong in that game. The ball just wouldn't go in, and we had a referee who was not on our side again, and we had Villa just, getting a very soft penalty. It just felt like a lot of the little things went against us with Aston Villa. The team played very well, and if that was the level of performance that the team puts in consistently, and I wouldn't say the Nottingham Forest result was too. The performance against Nottingham Forest wasn't too dissimilar to the Aston Villa one, and it definitely wasn't too dissimilar to the one we saw yesterday. If that's our new level of performance, we absolutely should not be going down. But you do fancy us to get the points we need to get out of trouble if this is the levels that we can maintain between now and the end of the season. So, yeah, I think the fans are getting on board again because, as Dyche constantly says, the fans want to see sweat on the shirt. They want to see effort. They want to see that players care and that they're really trying hard. And if we don't win games or get the results we want, it's not through lack of effort. It's just because sometimes the other team has a little bit more quality or because little 50-50 decisions go against us. If that's all it is that's stopping us from getting the results we want, then the fans won't get angry. It's when we see people who look like they're hiding and they're cheating and that we kind of throw our hands up in the air and get a bit uncooperative. But I'm really happy with that result, and you've got to be happy, but I'm happy with where the team's going. I think if we somehow survive between now and the end of the season, I like the direction the team's going long term. I think Sean Dyche was proving to be absolutely the right appointment for us. Every game that goes by, he looks more and more like it was a decision that the Everton board finally got right in appointing him. Didn't get the timing right at all. If we'd have brought him in the World Cup break like we should have, we'd probably be having a chance at top half we'd be nowhere near relegation if Dyche should come in November, December. But he's here now, better late than never. And it just, if anyone was going to get us out of this mess, it's him. Anyone who still looks back and thinks, I wish we'd have got Bielsa and not Dyche, then, oh my God, I don't know what to say to them. They must live in a fairy tale land.
Yeah, but it's like, I think the one big thing about that was, we're going to play shit football. I don't even think we have. I think the football's been pretty good under Dyche. You know, I think it's smart, it's direct, and it's not even as direct as I thought. There's the ball's getting hoofed up occasionally, but there's a lot more where you'll see it played through midfield, played to players' feet, a lot more than even I expected under Dyche, to be honest with you.
He suffers. Perception in football is everything, and Dyche has always suffered from a perception problem because I don't want to be one of them who harps on, it's because he's English and he hasn't got a sexy name. But part of it is that it's because he looks the way he does, he sounds the way he does, and he's managed the teams he's managed. He's managed a team like Burnley who, for a long time, who are just a very unfashionable club, aren't they? He doesn't have a head full of hair, and he's not someone who, 40-something women are going to swoon over if they see him out in town, like an Arteta or a Guardiola. He's not got a sexy voice, talks really gravelly, doesn't he? So people just think he's this absolute yard dog who's from the 1980s, that he's just a younger version of Sam Allardyce or a younger version of Tony Pulis. He isn't. He's just a manager who gets the most out of the least and works with the tools he's got. And it bothers me when people say, there's good football, there's bad football, the football under him is going to be rubbish. There's no such thing. There's effective football and there's non-effective football. There's football that works and there's football that just doesn't work. We saw football under Lampard that didn't work. We had it under Martinez, apart from the first season when it did work. The football after Martinez was a lot of passes and a lot of little pretty sequences, but it didn't work. It didn't get us results, did it? The football under Silva was pretty at times, but there was a lot of times when it didn't work, and that's why Silva was in the end sacked. But football under Ancelotti again was different. It was a lot more crosses into the box. It wasn't so many little triangles where players stood on the halfway line and centre-backs passing it between each other 5 times before they play it out to the winger, and then the winger turns around and passes back to the centre-backs before we actually try and make a goal. It doesn't matter whether it's a long ball that goes 40 yards over the top and catches the centre-halves, the opposition, off guard, or whether it's playing through little intricate triangles and just playing through the lines and then you end up putting it in the net as the final sequence of the play. It doesn't matter. As long as you end up scoring at the end of it, then it's good football. The only football that's bad is football that doesn't get you results. And Sean Dyche at the moment is getting results for Everton. It's not perfect. No manager's perfect. Carlo Ancelotti was not perfect at Everton. Pep Guardiola, if he came to Everton tomorrow, or Jurgen Klopp, if he came to Everton tomorrow, they wouldn't be perfect. But they get us results. They play good football because their football would end up taking Everton forwards.
Yeah, I think you look at it and I think you go, especially with a manager, like if you compare Frank and Sean Dyche, for example, I think if you gave Frank Lampard a side that could play some decent football and had some decent, pretty little players, like you said, I think he'd do all right with them. But I think he came in with ours, and it's been the same problem with Marco Silva, same problem that second and third season under Martinez when some players, I think a few of them left and then some got injured quite badly, didn't they? I think, was James McCarthy injured in the second season? And he was really important in the first season.
Yeah, under Martinez, McCarthy got crocked. There was a few other things. Obviously, Silva and Distan, he had his fallout with Distan, and they ended up playing John Stones over him and Alcaraz. And John Stones was a talented player, but he probably wasn't quite ready at the time. And Alcaraz was just a clown. People think because he could pass a ball forward 5 yards that he was a better defender than Distan. Never in a million years. If you could, mate, can you just talk for a couple of minutes? Because there is a tarantula to my right here, and I just need to get rid of it. Because it's putting me off. It's looking at me. So I'll still be here, but I'm going to have to kill it. Because if I take my eyes off it, it's going to go for a wander and it's going to drive me mad knowing that there's a spider where I am.
Right. So we'll do that for now then. Right. So anyway, yeah, I think it was a good result overall. And, I mean, while Paul's gone for a little bit, might as well chuck in the chat what everyone thought of the game. But yeah, I think the line that we were going down really is just that, you look at all these managers we've had and this style of football we've tried to play, we've just never really had players to suit it. And I think the best part about, I mentioned adaptability, the best part about having someone like Dyche is he's come in and immediately saw we've got players with quite a lot of energy. We've got players who can run with the ball and players who can cross the ball. And, in McNeil, and you've got a skillful player in Iwobi, and he's instantly looked at those players and gone, you'll suit here, and basically playing a system that suits the players best. You know, I think when Calvert-Lewin's back and Calvert-Lewin comes back into the team, I think if you notice Dwight McNeil now, you'll see him, he tries to play low balls when we'll have someone like Morpay or McNeil. He's still Morpay or Gray, up front. I think you'll see a lot more floated crosses in, you know, maybe a lot less power, and you just simple floated ones in. It's just nice to have a manager who feels like he actually understands the team and understands what it is that you need to get results out of these players. And I think that's pretty simple. I think Dyche will have a style of football he wants to play, and maybe then in the summer we'll see more of that. But then it's simple. You know, Erwin puts here, I would like to see Sims get more minutes, I won't lie. And then Dylan here puts, I'll give Dyche some credit. We look more solid everywhere, especially going forward. I think the issue is really, when you look at it, is that, well, with Sims, I think he does deserve a chance, but I think it does look like Calvert-Lewin's going to be back soon. And if he was going to play front two, I think I would prefer Morpay over Sims, especially in the fact that Morpay's link-up plays a lot better. Even Damari Gray as a 9 next to, well, not a 9, but as the striker next to Calvert-Lewin, I probably prefer that a little bit over Sims. I think Sims being recalled was, oh no, we can't sign anyone, let's bring him in. I think it was a sign, do you rush DCL back for Chelsea? No, I give DCL as much time as he needs until he's recovered. I know people might be like, but every time we rush him back, he gets injured again. I don't think Dyche is going to rush him back. I think Dyche has got a plan with what he's going to do with him. Dyche is going to bring him, slowly integrate him back into the team. And I think he's getting there. I think he's getting to the point where he'll be on the bench for Chelsea, and we might see him for the last 20 minutes. So I think it's one of those where you look at it and go, right, maybe we take some time, give him a few substitute appearances, and then things may get a bit better. I think Paul may be back now, so if I do that, then I think...
Hello.
Right, there we go. Did you manage to kill the tarantula then?
No. It raced away from me, but I'm ready to strike when it next shows its face. It had legs like Mina, genuinely. So if I'm in the middle of talking and I have to abort mission for a second, then I do apologise. But I'm in my bare feet as well, so I just know it's going to crawl up my big toe. So right. So just getting back to it. Sorry, what have I jumped back in the middle of?
We're on about, do you rush DCL back for Chelsea? And well, I've said no, and a few people in the chat have said no.
No, I wouldn't play him personally. I know Chelsea, are not, you know, the Chelsea that we used to. I mean, it's our record. I know we beat them at Goodison last year, but our record against Chelsea isn't good. And I think they're just beginning to find form now at the wrong time for Everton coming up. If we had played them a month ago, then you'd really fancy us to go down there and at least get a point, because a month ago it felt like everything that could go wrong for Graham Potter was going wrong. But that Dortmund result seems to have been, you know, the corner turner for them. I think if you say to me now, would you rather play 70% Calvert-Lewin against Chelsea, or would you rather wait till he's 100% and start him against Spurs? I'd rather start him against Spurs, because I think that Spurs game is much more winnable than this Chelsea one. Don't get me wrong, we could still go down and get something out of Chelsea, but unless Calvert-Lewin is absolutely 110% fit, no reason to not play him. He's ready to go there, and then I wouldn't play him against Chelsea. I'd rather save him, because I think it's just about managing your resources. You've got to assume Calvert-Lewin's only got X amount of games in him before the end of the season, because even once he's back on the team, he's going to pick up niggles. He's probably going to get injured again and come out the side again before the end of the season. I don't see him playing 10 straight games between now and the final day. No, I'd use Calvert-Lewin sparingly. I'd rather save him till the home game, unless he's absolutely fit. I know he put something up on his Twitter, was it, or his Instagram, but he said, feeling, I can't remember what it was, but it was a picture of him and Mina, wasn't it? And it was something along the lines of, he's feeling better and he's ready to go. And Dyche said that Dyche effectively said in his post-match yesterday that Calvert-Lewin is fit. The only reason he didn't play was because he just doesn't think he's managed. Oh, there it was then. It's right back again. Basically, Dyche said the only reason Calvert-Lewin didn't play the other day is because he only had like a day or two's training, and he didn't want to throw him into the deep end too quickly. So I think we should just go with what we've got. Just play Damari Gray and look to hit Chelsea on the counter. and hopefully we can sneak a point out of Chelsea. We're not going to go to Chelsea and, can see a lot of the ball and get balls into the box, I don't think, because they've just got better athletes than us all over the pitch. I think our only chance of getting something out of Chelsea is to sit deep and play really counter-attacking football. What Dyche used to do with Burnley when he'd go away all the time. And I think I'd rather play Gray doing that than maybe possibly a half-fit Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, I think the thing with Brentford and Chelsea is, obviously, Chelsea definitely have more quality, but I think there's a sense of where there's a similar strategy to beat them. If you notice when we played Brentford, I don't know, because obviously it was a 3 p.m. kickoff, so, everyone had to find a mysterious way to watch it at the same time. But the commentary I had basically said Brentford haven't won a game with more than 60% possession or something like that. And I think Chelsea have been a lot similar. If you notice how Chelsea play under Potter now, it feels almost a lot more like a lot less Graham Potter, if that makes any sense, a lot less hipster. The football's become a lot more, right, we're just going to get performances now. We just need wins. So is it a thing where Dyche is going to do the same plan, which is go there, give Chelsea as much of the ball as possible, and then go, well, you clearly struggle scoring goals when you've got the ball for 70, 80% of the game. Good luck. See if you can do it. And I can see us doing that. That's the strategy I see. Yeah. And I think it might be a thing where I see it being Demarai Gray for 70, 75 minutes, and then Calvert-Lewin might get 20, 15 minutes, in a sense where, because if they are, if they're knackered and they're defending, because, I think Thiago Silva's injured still in there. I think Wesley Fofana's good, but hasn't played much for Chelsea. Koulibaly's been dreadful. He's got some form under him now, but he's been absolutely dreadful. And is it a sense where then, some centre-backs for Chelsea have been known to be quite, Cucurella, the finger. Is it a thing where he subs Calvert-Lewin on and goes, Calvert-Lewin, get to the back post, basically have Cucurella hugging you and just bullet headers into him? Because, that's the one thing I'm really interested to see is how, because I don't think we've had a real fully fit Calvert-Lewin all season, to be honest with you. I don't think he's been 100. So I would love to see it, and I wonder how this informed Dwight McNeil his performance is going to get even better now that he's got a target to actually float the ball into, instead of having to play these power crosses in hopes that they get to someone's feet.
Yeah, I hope so. Plus, Dwight McNeil is going to do his side of is to do his fair share of the defensive work, isn't he? If we're going to give Chelsea all of the ball, then we're going to have players who are tracking back, aren't they? And having to be patient. If we play Calvert-Lewin, I know Calvert-Lewin used to put himself absolutely everywhere, but whether it's because his body won't allow it anymore, whether it's just because he doesn't feel he has to, he's outgrowing that. Calvert-Lewin doesn't put himself about anywhere near as much as he used to. Now, that's not necessarily to have a dig at him, as I just mentioned. Maybe it's because his body just won't allow him to run so many kilometres in a match anymore, or whether he's told not to do that. Maybe he's told to stay and hug the penalty area, like he certainly wasn't under Ancelotti. Ancelotti told him to just hang around the 6-yard box and get on the ends of things. But if we start Calvert-Lewin, even if he's fully fit, I can just see him getting isolated up there, especially in the first half when Chelsea are getting all of the ball. And we've seen when Calvert-Lewin gets totally isolated up the pitch and we can't get anyone to play off of him, he might as well not even be in the game. He looks like Morpay all the time. You're better just having someone who we can hit it long to, like Demarai Gray, who can hopefully get in behind a defender. Or if Demarai Gray has to carry, we can give it to Gray in our half. You'd fancy Gray to get us up the pitch more with his dribbling ability. So I would definitely, unless Calvert-Lewin is raring to go and wants to play and they've got a game plan in mind that Calvert-Lewin will suit, I wouldn't start him in this game. I think you've got the right idea. I think we play Demarai Gray, we give Chelsea all of the ball, we look to be snide and horrible and play the percentages and just look to get Chelsea on the counter or maybe take advantage of a set piece. And then if the game's still there for us, we can throw Calvert-Lewin on for the last 10-15 when hopefully Chelsea have retreated a little bit. They're feeling the pace of the game maybe more than we are because they've been struggling, and we can just throw balls into the box and hopefully Calvert-Lewin can get on the end of something and put himself about. And because, as you mentioned, when Thiago Silva's not there, their back line is very easy to bully. It's just in the first half of the game, are we going to see enough of the ball to be able to get the ball into their box frequently? I don't think we will. So I think we're just better flooding the midfield and going an old-fashioned 4-5-1 with Demarai Gray as the centre-forward in the first half against Chelsea. And hopefully it'll be enough to get us a point, if not even more. Because if we can get a result down at Chelsea, that will be another big morale booster and another big step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think one thing I can see Dyche doing is playing the 4-4-2 in a sense, but letting it be a very versatile 4-4-2. You know, because this is what I was saying. I'd rather have the front two not be Maupay and Calvert-Lewin, it'd be Gray and Calvert-Lewin, because then it lets us play to a 4-3-3 as well. It lets Iwobi move back into midfield and have Gray and McNeil on the wings. I think it gives us some form of versatility, and I don't think he'll do it at the Chelsea game, because I think that's something I can see more maybe next season, or depending what happens with Calvert-Lewin. Obviously, I think we bring in a backup striker or even someone to take Calvert-Lewin's place. But, you know, I think it's a thing where I do think Dyche is going to want to play that system where he has that big target man. And to be fair, when he's fully fit, Calvert-Lewin's, you know, proven to be one of the best at that. Even against Crystal Palace, he showed it. You know, for that header, you know, it was a fantastic header for someone who'd, even at that point, still had his injury troubles. So I think it's an interesting one. When he comes back, I'm not going to be expecting Ancelotti, Calvert-Lewin. You know, I think those years in my head now that has to be he comes out firing again at the start of next season, maybe in a similar fashion to we did under that Ancelotti season. But I think Owen puts it here, and we might as well put it up and now get your opinion on it. Or do we continue with Godfrey?
I would rather continue with Godfrey than continue with Michael Keane or Connor Cody. And I know Michael Keane played okay against Brentford, and the only manager he's ever consistently performed for was Sean Dyche. But I'm sorry, nothing's going to turn me around to Michael Keane. Michael Keane is not a good defender in the Premier League. The odd game aside, he's let down Everton far too many times. He's been the same player under numerous different managers now. He was under Koeman, under Ancelotti, under Silva, under Allardyce, under nearly all those managers. He had little spells of form. Sometimes they were a couple of games. Sometimes they were. I think the longest he ever played well was maybe half a season under Ancelotti, when you added up all his games continuously. But Michael Keane is not a player who Everton should be planning the future for. I don't. His deal doesn't run out this summer. I think he's got another year on it. But I want to see the back of Michael Keane ASAP. Ben Godfrey hasn't played well for Everton for a while now, but Ben Godfrey is still young. Ben Godfrey has had a major injury. Ben Godfrey has had lots of managerial upheavals. And I know Michael Keane's had those managerial upheavals as well, but Michael Keane's an international footballer. Somehow he is, but he's played for England. He had a settled manager under Dyche for a long time. Those circumstances that have affected the club and affected the younger players like Godfrey, like Gordon. I know Gordon's not here now, but a lot of those things that have kind of stunted players' developments, don't apply to Michael Keane for me. For me, he was in the last chance saloon for Everton 2.5 years ago, and he blew it. He's not good enough. So if Dyche is going to play him, he's going to play him. We can't argue with the manager because he's getting all the big decisions so far right, it seems. But long term, I want to see the back of Michael Keane, and I think that Ben Godfrey still has a future at Everton to fight for. Not saying Ben Godfrey's going to be a great player for Everton or that he's absolutely unsellable. If we got a really good offer for him in the summer, then I'd take it. But I think Ben Godfrey still has lives at Everton. He hasn't run out of his 9 lives yet. He's run out of about 4 or 5 of them, whereas Michael Keane's used up about 20 lives. So I would stick with Ben Godfrey, but at the expense of Michael Keane or probably even Mason Holgate. But he's not unsellable. If we get another team coming in for Ben Godfrey in the summer and we can get our money back, because how much did we spend on Godfrey originally? Was it about 20 million?
20 mil. Yeah, I think 20 mil.
If we can get anywhere between 20 to 30 million for, we can get our money back. I'd probably because we're in a different financial place than we were when we bought, and we need the money now more than ever. If we can get our money back for Ben Godfrey, I'd probably be tempted to part with him because he hasn't quite kicked on. I know not all, as I've just mentioned, a lot of it's not his fault that he hasn't kicked on compared to that player he was in those first 6 months when we all loved him. But if Ben Godfrey stays around at Everton, at least for another season, I won't have a problem with it.
No, I don't think so either. And I think the thing is, you know, if we compare him to where he's playing now, he's playing left back right now. Mykolenko, man, I want to like the guy, I do, because I think he's got, the weird thing with Mykolenko is I think he has all the attributes to be a really good left back, but he just can't seem to put everything together in a sense. I think it's like, the attributes are there, physically, the attributes are there. I think I don't know what it is with him, but I feel like it just feels like he can't tie everything together in what's arguably one of the hardest positions in football right now, to the point where I can't say he's a starting left back. The thing is with him, if we sign another left back as a backup left back, I'm very happy to have him because he's not brilliant. But if someone went, that's your backup, he's going to play in the cup games and occasionally in the Prem. I'd be like, okay, then that's fine. But with what we've got now, I know he's still young, and the thing is, he's still going to develop. But then isn't Patterson younger and has just flown past him development wise, in my opinion? Because I don't think Patterson's developed as much as even our fans make out. But if you compare them to it, it's leaps and bounds between them.
For me, the problem with Michaelenko is I just don't think he's athletic enough for this league. I think if you put him in Italy or in France, he'd look really, really good. And there's a player in there. I don't think he's a bad footballer at all. I think he's a very well-schooled defender. He's come. Was he always at Dynamo Kiev? Did he come from their youth system?
Yeah,
whatever youth system whatever academy he's come from, he's been really well trained and really well schooled. He gets every bit out of himself that he can. There's not something where you think, oh my God, he's terrible at that. Did he just never learn it or something? No, the way Coleman has never been great at his deliveries, or the way Tony Ibbott was never good on the ball in any fashion. I don't think that's the problem, Michaelenko. I just don't think he's got the physical attributes. When he plays against a quality wide player in the Premier League, your Salahs, your who am I thinking of? Your Sakas for Arsenal. Your people know what I mean. Yeah, when he plays against a top level wide player, he just gets rinsed because they're just a lot faster than he is. They're a lot smarter than he is. They're often a lot stronger than he is. He does everything okay, as you said. He's just a 6 out of 10 footballer. He's well rounded, but he doesn't have one standout attribute. And as you said, if he could just put it all together and be maybe slightly above average at one thing, then he wouldn't get half as much stick as he gets. He's just kind of okay. And when you've got a football like that, if you're going to be playing Europa League or a Championship or a League One team in midweek in the cup, he's absolutely fine. He won't let you down against that type of opposition, and he probably won't let you down when you're playing the likes of Leeds at home or Brentford at home or Aston Villa at home. But when you're going to play teams like City and Liverpool and Arsenal, he's just not going to cope because their level of player that they've got and their starting lineups are just too good for him. The way the Premier League's gone now, you don't even have to be that good a footballer. As long as you are an athlete, as long as you're very fast and you can get up and down the line and you can put an half decent ball in, you can hold your own in this league. Look at the likes of Kyle Walker, the Willie Flasher. He's not a standout footballer, but he's really athletic and he can put a ball in. He's got pace. Who's another one I can think of? Oh, his name escapes me. He plays for Liverpool.
What, Robertson?
Yeah, Robertson. Yeah, I think Robertson's very overrated by Liverpool fans, but he's just a very, very good athlete. He's not a slouch. He can cross. He can read play before it happens. He can always make sure he gets back in the position. He never gets caught out of position, really. As long as you've just got those key things going for you, you can probably cope as a wing back in this league. Whereas Michaelenko, I just don't think he hasn't quite got the pace. He's not, dead slow like McNeil is. McNeil's one player who hasn't got any pace for a wide player. That's a criticism you can put on him. But my point is, I just think Michaelenko is just in the wrong league. I think it's too physical for him at times. It's too fast for him at times. And you've got to be able to release the ball quicker at times. And sometimes he can cope with one thing. Sometimes in certain games, he can manage the physical side of it, but then he can't cope with the mental side of it, and vice versa. So I've got no problem with Michaelenko, but if Everton want to be anything other than just a team that battles relegation consistently, he can't be the starting left back. And the fact that we swapped him effectively for Luca Dean just shows you how awful the recruitment is at Everton, the decision making. If we'd have got Michaelenko as an understudy to Luca Dean, I don't think anybody would have had any complaints at all. No one would have a bad word to say about Michaelenko. The main criticism people have of him is that he's just not Luca Dean. People got used to Luca Dean and Leighton Baines before that, and he's just sadly not on their level.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we're so used to having really good left backs, and I think that's the issue. And I think with Michaelenko is, I don't know what they're doing with him training wise, but I know Leighton Baines manages the under 18s, but he's right there. He is right there. If we're gonna have Michaelenko try to improve, why not have not arguably one of the best left backs to ever play in the Premier League help him
I think he has helped them. I think Michaelenko's a better player. Has made some notable improvements than since he first came to our league. I think he is a better player now. But it's how high can he really go? What is his ceiling? Because it doesn't look like it's a very high ceiling. As I said, he looks like he could be a very, very decent sort of bottom half level player. But do Everton want to be a team that has bottom half players all over the pitch? You can cope with having maybe a couple, but not 10. And he sadly falls into that category. If we weren't in the position we were, if we were still the team we were under Ancelotti or under Koeman when we were in the top half, then Michaelenko wouldn't get anywhere near the stick. He'd just be one of those backup players like Sidibe was. Sidibe was a player who was very similar, I think. He wasn't great, but because he wasn't brought in to be the starter, then no one really gave him anywhere massive amount of stick.
I think the thing with Michaelenko is, I think the one thing I'll have is, like I said, the irritating thing is that, like you said, and like I said before, the attributes are there in a sense, and I think the one example I will use, and I think the good example is Andy Robertson, is the fact that his attributes for what Jurgen Klopp wanted stood out, and then obviously under a manager like Jurgen Klopp, they're going to develop. I think it's a thing of coaching again, isn't it? I think if Michaelenko's well coached, and we have a plan of actually keeping Dyche in, because who did Dyche have at left back at Burnley? Was it Charlie Taylor? Something. I think
where's Owen when you need him?
Yeah, I feel like it was.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Owen's a scholar when it comes to Burnley, but no, I couldn't tell you who was on left back.
I know Charlie Taylor was there. Not gonna lie to you, I only know that because of Football Manager. But I think it's one of those where he can work if, like, for example,
he's a workhorse. Yeah, he's definitely a workhorse. That's probably his main attribute in his favour, is that he is a player who really does work. If he wasn't a player who had a work rate, then oh my god, I don't think he could be playing for any Premier League team.
I think it's one of those where if I had to put like a priority list of positions, I don't think left back would be really high up. I think it'd be up there, but
it's more a nuisance position, isn't it? Yeah, it's more of we know we can get better and we want to get better player for it, but it's not a pressing problem like it was, like right back was for so many years.
But my thing is, I do think Michaelenko was meant to be an understudy, because the more and more I look at it, I feel like him and Patterson were always on the cards to happen, even if Dyche stayed. I think that was because I think that was the plan. It was Patterson to come in to back up Coleman, and Michaelenko to come in to back up. Or maybe it was like a thing.
I don't think it was. I don't know about Patterson, but no, with the left back situation, mate, it was purely fat Spanish waiter was just desperate to get rid of Dean and get another left back in who would do as he's told and not answer back. And I think the only left back who was available, not the only left back who was available, the left back who was probably at the top of their scouting list of the players they'd bothered to scout, because we know how poor Everton's scouting system is. The only player they came back with was Michaelenko, and rumours are we only got Michaelenko because he was at Dynamo Kiev, and Usmanov has got a lot of influence at Dynamo Kiev. Remember we signed him in the January, wasn't it? A couple of weeks before it all kicked off in Ukraine. So I don't think Michaelenko was brought in to be a bench warmer for Luca Dean. I think we signed Michaelenko because we were looking for a left back to replace Luca Dean, because he'd fallen out with Fat Man Benitez, and because our scouting system is so bad, we didn't go and identify a like for like replacement for Dean. We just got, okay, what left backs do we know about? There's this lad here who plays for Dynamo Kiev, and we can probably get him out of Dynamo Kiev because our sort of unofficial owner has the run of Dynamo Kiev. Okay, we'll have him. We can get him for cheaper than we could spend less money buying him than we'll have to get by selling Luca Dean. So we'll just have him, and he's played for Champions League before, and Usmanov says he's good, so we'll just assume he's going to be as good as Luca Dean, and he's nowhere near the level of Luca Dean.
No, not
most left backs are not the level of Luca. At least Luca Dean at Everton. I know Dean's not done much since he went to Aston Villa, but the fact that we got Michaelenko as a direct replacement for Luca Dean is not Michaelenko's fault. It's a failing of Everton's recruitment team. We shouldn't have got rid of Luca Dean in the first place, and if they were, they had to identify a better player than Michaelenko to be the direct replacement.
Especially not to Aston Villa. I think the one issue with that signing, looking back on it, I think we don't want to clamour on this for too long, as it really showed the lack of ambition under Rafa. We should have been looking at Villa and going, well, us two, at the rate they were spending at the time, should be challenging for that new conference.
It just showed, for
That's
me,
what
it just showed how out of control Benitez's ego was. He was so desperate to get rid of Luca Dean that he was willing to give him to, at the time, a club he considered a rival. He was willing to give him to a direct rival, strengthen them and weaken us, just so he can have his way, just so he can throw his weight around and say to everyone else, look what happens when you cross me. If you fall out with a player, most managers will look to get rid of, and that manager wants rid of a player, they'll try and sell them to a team, or they should try and sell them to a team who can't hurt them. Sell them abroad, or sell them to a team that is not in your headspace. Sell them to a team that is you're absolutely sure is going to be finishing 10, 15 points at least behind you in the league, or sell them to a club further up the ladder who are going to finish at least 10, 15 points ahead of you in the league. Teams that you know are either not going to be capable of challenging you in the next few years, or you're not going to be capable of challenging them, or just sell them abroad and you don't even have to think about them ever again. Who cares what they're doing in La Liga or Serie A? To sell them to another league, to another team that is in direct competition for you when it comes to, hovering in and around the top half, maybe pushing on for top 7 or 8. That just showed how egotistical Benitez was and how desperate he was to get his way. He didn't care about the fact that he was hurting Everton by strengthening a rival. He just wanted rid of Dean, and he wanted rid of Dean because he's an egotist who didn't like being answered back to.
Yeah, what was it? Dean was frustrated that he wasn't letting him attack nearly as much as he was under Ancelotti. Rafa came in and went, "Hey, this is your biggest strength."
That's one side of the story, yeah. Dean's got his side of the story. We've never really heard it, and I don't. There's no point hearing it now because it's not going to change anything, is it? But Benitez's argument was, or Benitez's camp's argument was, that D was trying to put himself before the team, wanted to play a certain way, when Benitez wanted him to play a way that would suit the team. It's like, well, it didn't really suit the team because the performances were better the team's results were better when he was doing what he was doing prior. Rafa, it wasn't like you came in and changed things and suddenly things got better for the team. Was it?
Because for like the 2 seasons before Rafa, I think it was 2 seasons, did you not get? It was either double-digit assists both seasons. He definitely did in all competitions, I think. But I think one year he got 10 in the Prem, and then or like 11 or something, and then he might have got 9 the year after. So he was
a very, very, very
he was
important part of
contributing.
Yeah,
massively contributing, and then we get in. But the thing is with Mykolenko as well is I think we brought in a completely different, an opposite of the spectrum left back. Dyche was an attacking first. Mykolenko is massively a defensive first left back. Mykolenko's one of those where he's smart defensively and he might not have the athletic attributes, but he's got the intelligence and the ability when it comes to technical ability as a defender to know what he's doing. Dyche he could defend at probably the same level as Mykolenko, to be honest. Not massively above, I wouldn't say, but then he was, if you gave him a bit of open space to cross, most times he was finding his man.
Yeah, but the argument doesn't hold weight anyway, because even if that is absolutely true, Benitez wanted fullbacks who would, not cross the halfway line and would adhere to his tactical plan. That's true. Then why did they go and sign Nathan Patterson in the same window, who was absolutely not the same type of fullback as Mykolenko? If they'd have got a right back who is just like Mykolenko in terms of what his game's built around, then you'd think, all right, Benitez is absolutely stupid, but he's not lying to us. He genuinely did want to build a team for these reasons. He did have a certain tactical plan in mind. He's not lying to us when he said that Luca Dean was trying to undermine what he was doing. No, because we went and signed Nathan Patterson, who was the complete opposite. That Nathan Patterson is a bona fide wing back. Nathan Patterson is going to get up the line and look to float crosses in and take on, whoever's on the opposite side to him. He does want to get forward at every opportunity. Why did you sign one of them and sign a completely defensive left back on the other side? All you're doing is unbalancing the team by doing that. You've got to have 2 wing backs on each side who are identical to each other, whether they're both players who want to get forward and contribute to the attacking side, or whether it's just 2 players who are going to hang back and just look to, do the dirty side of the game and be a bit more old-fashioned. You can't have one or the other. Sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you can only afford one wing back, and you've got to get the one who you want more. Or maybe one player, you've got 2 wing backs who suit your system, and one of them gets injured or whatever. So you'd have to play the other one, and on the other side, just play your backup. You don't sign 2 wing backs in the same window who are the complete opposite of each other and sign them both to be starters It just shows that, again, one, the recruitment doesn't know what it's doing, and two, Benitez just put his ego before everything else and got rid of Luca Dean without thinking through the consequences, or did think through the consequences, didn't care.
Yeah, and I think if we're going to keep going under this little path of mentioning players under Dyche and the improvement all around, I have one player I'm interested to see now is because I think he's fully fit now. Is in a Garner, the young lad from United we signed. I think he's back fully fit now, and he's a player who, from what I've seen from Forest, I have a lot of hope for him. And in these brief moments at Everton, I think he showed some flashes of what he could be, and I think he's exactly, if we can get him to a level which I trust Dyche to do, then I think that's a really good midfielder. Because actually having a midfielder who can, he may sit deep, but he can play that ball. He can play those long cross balls to the wing. A smart tempo dictator, in a sense, I think is something that I think every team needs now.
James Garner looks like he's going to be the player that Idrissa Gana Gueye wishes he was, which is a number 6 who is actually good on the ball and, as you said, can dictate play and the attacks can build from. Garner wants to be that player, a sort of a sitter, but plays more like a number 8, especially when they're actually on the ball. Idrissa Gana Gueye has always wanted to be that player, and he can't. Idrissa Gana Gueye can't do anything except win the ball. If that's all Gana Gueye did was win the ball and then gave it to someone else within 2 or 3 seconds, he'd be smashing it for us. Everything that goes wrong with Garner is always because he dallies on the ball too long, or he plays passes that are never on, and he loses possession dead cheaply. So when James Garner's fully fit, and if he's the player we all think he's capable of being, the player he looks like he's going to be, then I think he could be part of Everton's spine for many years to come. He's one of those players, if we do go down, we're probably going to have to part with, because I think he played in the Championship. He played in the Championship last season for Nottingham Forest, but I think he's a player with a high ceiling. I think a team will come in and take him off us, but you never know. I just really like James Garner. I want to get him into the team ASAP. I wouldn't necessarily drop him for Gana Gueye straight away. I think Gana Gueye has got attributes that are going to be really key for us in certain games, but long term, I want to see James Garner in the Everton lineup rather than Idrissa Gana Gueye. If you can find a way to get both of them in, great. But I think James Garner is a really good footballer, a really tidy footballer, and I think we've really missed him the last few months. If he'd have been fully fit and not got that injury, I think we'd be on more points than what we've got. I think Lampard would have got us more points if he'd have had Idrissa Gana Gueye. Sorry, if Frank Lampard have had James Garner fit and ready and available, as much as whatever you think of Frank Lampard, I think we'd have got more points under Lampard if he'd have had James Garner to call on.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. I think we had quite a few players that I look at in the summer and thought they have some potential to actually do quite a lot at Everton. But I think it's, you look at where we are with Dyche now is, I think, going into the next game, Chelsea, I think we're at Stamford Bridge. But I think it's a game where I don't know, I can't see him deviating much. I can't really see him deviating much from what's worked. And I think Patterson and Garner have been playing for the 21s, haven't they? And then I don't know if Patterson, I don't remember if Patterson was on the bench, but Garner was definitely on the bench the other night.
I think Garner is a little bit further along than Patterson is. I'm pretty sure Dyche said that. They've both been playing for the under-21s, but I think Dyche said that one or the other needed a little bit more sharpness before he felt comfortable playing them. I think he was referring to James Garner, saying that he was ready, whereas Patterson needed a little bit more sharpness. But the sooner we can get them both back into the team, the better. I would put James Garner in the team before Nathan Patterson, because Patterson has had an up and down season for me. I think he's, again, a player who should be very much part of Everton's long-term future. But I think he was thrown in the deep end a little bit too earlier on this season. Yeah, I don't think he was quite ready. It was a catch-22. We were calling for a new right-back for years, and we finally got one. But we ended up, again, not really. The recruitment's got it wrong. We had a right-back who was far too old, and a right-back who was, for me, too young. We didn't get that happy medium. We shouldn't be looking to get someone who was maybe 22, 23. Was Patterson even 21 yet? I think he was 19 when we signed him.
He'll be, if he's 21, he's very recently turned 21. But yeah, I think that's...
Regardless of his age, Patterson hadn't played that many senior games. He wasn't the starting right back for Rangers. He probably should have been. But he hasn't. I don't even think Nathan Patterson's made 100 senior appearances yet at any level, whereas James Garner has.
I
No, he's not even close. James Garner's well over that. James Garner played 2 full seasons in the Championship, and I think that's 80-90 odd on its own. And I think he had a few spells on loan before that. He was at United's youth system for years and just never really got his chance in the main team. James Garner's just a player who's really, really tidy, and I think he's going to be a big player for us in the future. And I think if we can get him fully fit, then he'll definitely contribute significantly before the end of the season. And I just really hope that Dyche can build a team around him.
Yeah, I think it's a thing.
James Garner, Nathan Patterson, and hopefully if we can get a good striker in as well, and possibly Dwight McNeil. The jury's still out on him, isn't it? I know he's playing well recently, but he has had his faults as well. There's 4 or 5 players there where you think if Sean Dyche can mould them, then that will be a really solid spine, and Everton will be all right over the next few years. But it all just depends on whether we can stay up this season.
Yeah,
because a lot of those players will go if we don't.
I think it's a big thing as well that Coleman's been, I'll give it to him really good. Again, another good performance against Brentford the other day for someone who, he's weird. I think he always has these bursts every season though, where he rolls back the clock a few years for a few games each season. It always, as well, seems to be at this time of the year. Because I'm pretty sure he scored against Leeds. It might have been the exact same month last year, February, March time, I seem to remember, was the game against Leeds where he scored again. So I think it's one of those where there's no point chucking Patterson in for the rest of the season, to be honest with you. I'd say he's a really good piece of energy off the bench. He's one of those where if we feel like we can get back into a game, he's really good to have, because if you're an opposition fullback, it's one of those you look at, and if you see him coming on, you're going to be like, oh, for God's sakes, especially if with Iwobi, if they're on the same side as Iwobi. Again, Iwobi was fantastic the other night as well. It's a thing where I think we've got a real spine to a team that can definitely finish mid-table if the players are clicking, and and that's without Calvert-Lewin, or going in with my expectations of Calvert-Lewin now, which is more 10-15 goals a season than 15 to 20 now, to be honest with you.
If he's even fit enough to play that much, yeah.
If we could get Calvert-Lewin under Ancelotti, then bloody hell, I think it could be really dangerous. Or if we can get, when we eventually get Mr. Stephen Pienaar 2.0 back, which is the way it's looking. But, I think it depends, really. I think that's the most frustrating thing about this season, is that you look at a load of players this season, especially, and go, oh, he's especially, I think Onana's the biggest example, where we got to January under Frank before we would get sacked, and a lot of us were going, how does he still play for us? And then we started to see the Chelsea and the Arsenal rumours, and most people just went, yeah, he's gone then, because why would you stay here? But now I think, hopefully, it looks like there's actually a spine of the team being built now.
Hopefully so. In these relegation battles, a lot of the time, all you need is players who've got cojones, players with passion, players who will put the foot in where it hurts and will always give it 110%. A lot of the teams that go down, it's not because they haven't got teams that are good enough necessarily. It's because they've got teams that don't want to stay up enough for them. And Coleman's one of those players who absolutely does want to stay up, whereas Anthony Gordon couldn't wait to get in his car and drive away, could he?
And do an interview on Sky Sports.
Yeah, no, forget him. He's not important. I shouldn't have brought him up. But yeah, Coleman is his levels are only going to keep going down. He's only getting older. His career trajectory is only going to keep going one way. But in crucial games like this, he's still got the passion and he's still got the fire inside. And sometimes in really close, nitty games, that could be what decides it. It was against Leeds. We won the Leeds game purely because we just desperately wanted it more than them, and we got a little bit of luck. But often the team that wants it more and works harder gets the luck. Do you know what I mean? If we'd have started Nathan Patterson in that Leeds game, we wouldn't have won it. Not just because Coleman was the goal scorer. I just don't think we'd have been able to get at Leeds enough. We wouldn't have shown the fire. Whereas Coleman was on the pitch. He's the club captain, isn't he? He's the fans' representative on the pitch. He's the only player that a lot of fans have any affinity towards. So I wouldn't necessarily say I'd start Coleman over Patterson every game before now in the season, and I wouldn't say I'd necessarily start Patterson over Coleman. I think it just depends on the opposition. If it's going to be a bit of a dogfight of a game, you'd start Coleman. If it's a game where we've got to take the initiative and we've probably got to get the first goal and we've got to sort of put teams back in their box early, then you'd probably play Patterson because he can provide the service into the box. So if Patterson's fit for Chelsea, I'd play Coleman because it's going to be a backs to the wall type game. But when the likes of Tottenham and the likes of Newcastle come to Everton, come to Goodison in the next month or so, I'd probably start Patson, because they're games that we probably can't hang on for an hour trying to keep the score level and try to hit them with one. We've probably got to score first in those games and make sure that we're not out of the game by half time. So we just got to get players back, haven't we? It gives us more options, and the more options we've got, the stronger the squad is. And I still believe on paper, Everton's team should absolutely not be in a relegation battle. It's just because we had a manager who wasn't good enough, and we had a lot of things go against us, like recruitment, selling players and bringing ones in who haven't performed for us, players losing form at the wrong time, because even the likes of Morpay and the likes of Cody, as much as they haven't performed for us, especially Morpay, they're not good, but they're not bad enough to be down there in relegation battles. Morpay should have 6 or 7 goals in him a season when he's starting as many games as he started. Cody shouldn't be losing as many games as he's lost as he started for Everton. He should be handling the likes of a Southampton or a Brighton, and he hasn't.
He was a starting centre back in a bloody. Did Wolves make a semi-final? I feel like Wolves made the Europa League semi-final.
No, they made the quarter-final under Nuno, but he was the club captain of Wolves, and he'd probably still be at Wolves if they hadn't got that Bruno Langen, who he didn't get along with. And I think Cody still is a good player. I think the one thing I'd say about Cody is we've seen why Wolves didn't think he could work in a 2, why they were keen to let him out. I don't think Connor Cody works in a 2. He did all right in the initial weeks of the season when he had Tarkowski next to him, and we were playing a few teams that didn't necessarily have firepower, like the likes of your Leeds and your Southampton's games earlier on the season, and your West Ham's, where we didn't get beat under Frank. We drew them or won them. And even Tarkowski played well, but we've just seen over the course of the season, Connor Cody's not a defender who can play in a centre-back partnership. And Wolves knew that already, and that's why they let us have him. If we're going to keep Connor Cody past this summer, then I'd only do it if Dyche has got plans to play free at the back at some point, and I don't think he does, really.
I still think I would, because I've said this in an old live stream, and I remember it caused some controversy on the Twitter account, but it's 4.5 million. If we spend 4.5 million and go, oh shite, we're running out of budget here, then bloody, how bad does it look?
I get that point. But if there was some youngster in the Championship who we rated another Brentford maybe, who we could get for 4.5 million, would you rather take a chance on them for that money, or would you rather keep Cody? You don't know.
For the experience, for the sole purpose that Bramthwaite's going to come back in and start. So this is what, when people say I said it, I think they immediately assumed in my head that I wanted Cody to start. No, next season is Bramthwaite and Tarkowski, no debate about it. There is not, until someone offers us 30-40 million for Bramthwaite, and we just go, yep. Because it won't surprise me if a top team comes in and sees the English tax and goes, sorry lads, he's almost scoring hat-tricks in league games for him, sorry lads, we'll take him. But yeah, I think, I don't know with him, because I feel like it's one of those where I feel like this could be, one of those loan players where Brentford then comes back and goes, sorry lads, I don't want to be here anymore.
Don't want to know, does a John Stones, and just, the minute he gets a whiff of a Man City in for him, his head turns.
Yeah, I think it's, Erwin puts here, and I think this is why it sums it up. With Mina, Mina's going to go on a free. I think that's practically locked up.
That's why Mina's not playing. For anyone who's wondering, everyone's saying, why isn't he playing Eddie Mina? He's our best defender and he's fit. He's not doing it because he's clearly got no plans for Mina. He knows Mina's not staying after this season. So why he's trying to build a team? He keeps talking about it. Dyche, he's talking as if we're not in a relegation battle. He's trying. I think you don't know how much of that is just because he wants to sort of reassure the fans and he wants his confidence to rub off on people. But he's talking about building a mentality and building a team. That's not normally the type of language that a manager in a relegation battle uses. It's game to game, day to day, isn't it? Whereas it doesn't seem like Dyche is in that headspace. He seems like he's already planning for the future. That future is going to be as a team in the Premier League, and that's why he's not using Mina, because he's got no plans to build a defence that will have Mina in it, because he knows Mina's not going to be here. So unless an injury crisis happens, I don't think we're going to see Mina between now and the end of the season, because Dyche is not going to summon a player who is not going to be here. So maybe that he's cutting his nose off to spite his face doing that, and I don't think he's going to do like a Martinez distant sort of thing where he just absolutely will not use him out of pure principle. No matter what happens, he's just going to completely ignore him. I think if he had to, or if he thought it was the difference between us winning a game and not winning a game, he would use Mina. But if he can avoid using Mina, he will, because Mina's not a player who he's going to be part of. He's not going to come on the journey with him. Basically, he knows Mina's not staying on the train, so why bother asking for his ticket?
Well, that as well, and the teams that are interested in Mina, who was it? Who was the big one in January? Was it Marseille?
I haven't got a clue. I don't know why any
Well,
club would be interested in Mina.
I'm going to say
He's made a
I
flake, isn't he?
don't think he will be in the French league though, will he? Less physical. I
I,
think he's going to be able to assert himself over players, and for
I don't
example, in
know
this
if
league, even a little 5'8" striker is going to look at Mina and go, "All right, you're injury prone, so I'm still going to dig you when we go in for a challenge." And I know it's going to work. Look, I mean, I think you look. I've seen it. Watched smaller strikers just look at Mina and go, "This is going to launch me," but they've just barreled into Mina, going, "Well, you made a glass." And I think he is, Blue Boys here puts it. Mike puts. Best centre back in the squad, but made of candy floss. He is. He's a really good defender. That's the frustrating part. You look at him, and when he's fit and he plays full games, you go, "Oh, we could use this." And then
Daniel Sturridge, I always liken him to Daniel Sturridge. Daniel Sturridge was a really good centre forward, but he was so injury prone. Liverpool moved on without him. Even when he was fully fit for practically all that final season, he was like Liverpool. Klopp didn't use him because he wasn't going to fit into Klopp's plan, and Klopp knew he can't put Sturridge in the team and let him develop relationships with his teammates when he wasn't going to use him past the end of the season. All he was doing was, might have had a short-term boost, might have got him a couple of results here or there that he wouldn't have got otherwise, but all he was going to have to do, he was only creating a headache for himself further along the line when he got rid of Sturridge, and then he had a Sturridge-shaped hole in his team. So he was just, I can see I think that's what Dyche is doing. He doesn't want to come to rely on Mina because he knows Mina is someone who he's not going to keep keeping around because we can't offer him a new deal. Yes, yeah, effectively, yeah. I think regardless of what happens this season, we have to get a replacement for Calvert-Lewin. Whether Calvert-Lewin's still here next season and we're in the Premier League and he goes into the season fully fit, we can't do what we did last summer and just put all our eggs in the Calvert-Lewin basket. We have to act as if Calvert-Lewin is the same as Jean-Philippe Gbamin. As in, he's never going to get on the pitch for us. If he does get on the pitch for us, it's a bonus. But we can't take anything for granted. And I'm at that place with Calvert-Lewin and Mina now. Especially Mina, I'm just sick of giving them my headspace. So when the end of the season comes and Mina goes, I'd be glad to never hear from him again. It's not because I dislike him or anything personal. I've just spent so much headspace on the fella. I'm tired out of him. I'm just ready for him to go somewhere else, and Evertonians don't have to think about him anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm quite excited for summer, to be honest with you, because you look at all the wages leaving, which brings more money in. Andre Gomez is going to get signed now because he's had a really good season at Lille. So I don't think we even have to worry about that now.
You say that, but if you were Lille, if Lille are as smart as you think they are, Lille will just turn around and say, "Yeah, we'll have him on loan for another season."
I think Lille will turn around and offer us the Morgan Schneiderlin special.
They'll do to Gomez what we did. They'll have him on loan for one season, think he's really great, and then be falling over themselves to sign him, which is exactly what we did with Gomez. By the way, he came on loan for that 1 year. He did quite well, and we all assumed that we had this great superstar player. And then the minute we signed him and we got a proper look at him permanently, we realised that we basically wasted a lot of money. If you're Lille, unless their recruitment's just as bad as Everton's, which you've got to assume they're not, Lille will just turn around and say, "Right, you're desperate to get rid of him," but they don't have to let us know that they're desperate to sign him. If I was Lille, I'd just turn around and say, "Okay, we'll have him on loan again, thank you." And what are Everton going to do? Say no? Because if we say no, is any other club going to come in for him and give us a better deal? Not necessarily.
I think we'll sell him for like 5 million, and Lille will
look at it and
go. I think what Lille will do is, like you said, they're a smart club. They'll go 5 million in nowadays market. It's barely a risk. The leagues, you look at his thing with the Prem, he had a drop off of form, but then I do think his leg break plays a part into it. I think it's like, if one thing I noticed is it felt like whenever a big challenge was coming in, he'd shy away from it after that leg break. He was almost scared of having a repeat, in a sense. He didn't want it to happen again. Understandably, a broken leg's horrible, but I think that it checked him out of the physicality of the Prem. And I think you look at the Ligue 1 where he's going to get crunched occasionally, but barely as much. Against PSG, we were really good. I think he got an assist against PSG. I think he suits those leagues so much better than ours. And I could see them paying 5 million.
A lot of the time a lot of the time in leagues like Italy and France, the pitches are a lot wider than they are in the Premier League. The grounds aren't so compact, type of thing. So there's a lot so players can't close you down as quickly. as they do. Playing in Lille's grounds is a lot, or playing away at PSG, or away in Marseille, or away at Nantes, which is quite a wide pitch. That's a lot different than playing away at Crystal Palace, where you can practically feel the fans breathing on your neck, and players are on you like flies on crap, aren't they? So, yeah, whatever happens, Gomez is another one. Glad to see the back of him, but even with all those wages going in the summer, we've got a cash flow problem, because the owner can't put the real owner can't put no more money in, can he? So
I think it depends, doesn't it? I think now it's the point where we have to do what Everton used to do, and that's where that big £80 million
sell to buy.
check, that big £80 million check that comes in, like we have to use. So we're gonna have to, unfortunately, I know we have to pay for the stadium, but I think that 80 million check that comes through for the TV rights, we need to be taking part of that for transfers. 220 grand is the minimum, because I think Gomez is 120, Mina's 100, or it's the other way around. So that's 220.
There's others as well. There's a few others who are out of contract as well.
Or is he gone already?
No, Gabaman's got another year. He signed 5 years, didn't he? But he's not coming back. We'll just do what we did with Ashley Williams. We'll just loan him out again. Who else am I thinking of? Who's that? Decore, probably. He's out of contract. We've got the option of an extension.
I don't think so, not because he's on 100 grand a week, innit?
I wouldn't extend him, no. I know he's playing well now, but he's playing well because he's playing for a contract. We can't make that classic mistake of letting a player play well for a dozen games and thinking that they've turned a corner. No, I would be part ways with Decore.
I wouldn't mind bringing him in for half the wage he's currently on. 40, 50 grand a week for Decore. I'm not massively against it for a year or two. But if that extension's same wages, no chance. Not for 100 grand a week, man. That's absolutely ridiculous. He didn't deserve the money when we gave it to him. I know he was really good for Watford, and I know wages are different now, but for us, for the position we were even in then, 100 grand a week star player.
I would, don't know, you.
Oh, I think he's frozen. But yeah, I think like I was saying, he's back. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, sorry. We were talking about There's a lot of wages that are going to get freed up, but I think that's the reason we didn't spend the Gordon money, mate. We've got a cash flow problem. We just need all the money that is coming through the door. I think is just coming towards the running of the club. I don't think we're seeing that 40 million, whatever it was, for Gordon get spent in the summer. The club will pretend that we're going to spend it like they did with the Arteta money. The money's gone to the banks or to whoever it's gone to. I don't believe that Bashiri's just put it in his back pocket. I think it's gone to pay for things because the cash flow is an issue.
It's all gone
straight. It's gone to the stadium and it's gone to pay the wages because we've got a far too high a wage bill.
I don't think we'll spend huge money, but I could easily see us spending 50, 60 million in the summer. And that's not including if Onana goes for something.
I'd like to think so, but I don't think we'll spend that much, mate. I think we'll just be doing what we did last summer. I think we'll be offering little deals. Maybe we'll buy a player for 20, 30 million, but it'll be in installments where it's 5 million now, 5 million next summer, 5 million the summer after that, 5 million if we finish in the top 6.
I think that's what we're going to do with a lot of deals, though. So, like I said, it'll be 60 million, but in a sense, it might be we're only spending 40 up front, and then. But I think we have that much money. But like I said, I think the only problem is Everton money now that a lot of people think of is stupid money, 100 mil a season and stuff like that because of what we used to do. But now I think we're going more under the Moyes reign, where I could see us spending 50, 60 mil, and then maybe obviously depending on if we sell Onana and then the club goes, well, we've chucked all the Gordon money into this. Let's give the club the Onana money to spend on players. And then, but the thing is, if we spend 100 million, for example, because we sell Onana, we have 50 mil, we sell Onana for 50, 60, let's say, and we spend 100 mil, I am not getting my hopes up at all. Because as soon as a player signing comes in for more than 30 mil, I'm terrified they're going to be crap. I'm trying to think who we've signed for only 30 mil. I'm convinced the only one that's been good's Onana.
He's not even been here that long for me to necessarily say he's been good. He's been encouraging. We've seen good signs, but he's not been here long enough to make any tangible impact, has he? The only player I think we've signed for big money who was possibly worth it, and I say possibly because he did score some important goals for us, but was he who should not be named. And I couldn't stand that fella, and he wasn't worth the money that we spent on him. But I think he was probably the only big, kind of big fee signing we've made. We can say absolutely wasn't a flop. because he did score important goals here and there, especially under Ancelotti, and I didn't like the fella at all.
I think he was a good player, but we just spent too much on him.
Yeah.
And we paid, like, at that point when we spent that money, you were getting...
Maybe Pickford was another one. We spent close to 30 million on Pickford. I think he's the only other one who you can say was definitely a positive, good, worth every penny we spent on him type of signing.
100%. And I think we could have spent 40, 50 million and it'd been worth every penny. Because let's face facts, if it weren't for him, we'd have been playing in the Championship this season. Yeah,
Pickford's the only undeniable success signing, big money signing we've had in the Managerial era. And there's one or two who you could argue maybe they weren't worth the money, but it was a good thing that the club got them because we'd have been a lot worse off without them ultimately.
Of course, Owen. Yeah, Richarlison, 40 million as well. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's another one, Richarlison. He was the obvious one who wasn't standing.
Lukaku was close to that, but not over, I don't think. I think Lukaku was 28, wasn't he?
He was 28. He was pre-Managerial, yeah. He was the record signing at the time.
He's probably the best signing, one of the best signings I've seen this club make. Especially in the last decade. That was Iwobi at 28 million isn't awful business. Yeah, I'm gonna wait maybe another season. He's turned it round, but he's still not worth that money. Do you know what I mean? If we sold Iwobi in the summer, will we get that money back for him? I think we could get 2025. No. I think we could get.
Yeah, that. I think that I think you can turn around and say a player absolutely wasn't a flop for you if you're able to at least get your money back on them or close.
Which is why...
would we get our money back for Iwobi? I don't think we would. We'd make a profit on.
We might be able... I think we could... Do you know what? I think if we can make money on Moise Kean, I think we can break even on Iwobi. I couldn't see maybe a team pays 30, so we make like a tiny profit. But that I couldn't see anything more than a tiny profit. Like Richarlison, we made what, 10, 20 mil on?
I forgot, we would have got more for Richarlison. We were in the position where we had to sell in order to keep FFP Wolves at the door. Richarlison, if we didn't have the problems we had with FFP, then we could have held out for 70, 80 million for Richarlison, and I think we would have done. Richarlison was just a case of we just had to get money in. We had to take whatever we could get out of Tottenham, and Tottenham knew that. Tottenham, if they wanted to be RC, could have just said, no, we're not paying you a penny above 30 million. And they probably would have been able to call our bluff in the end because we needed that money. But thankfully, whoever did that negotiation managed to just, make Tottenham restless enough that they were just willing to pay what we wanted in order to get Richarlison in the door and get him ready for pre-season with Conte and everyone else. But we would have made a profit on Richarlison easily if we... if the situation wasn't what it was. I forgot about Moise Kean. I read the other day that deal is all done now. It's done, but I'm wondering what that means cash wise. Do we get all the cash up front, or do we get? Season. Yeah, is it going to come in the summer? Is it going to come in dribs and drabs? Because if we get all that money relatively soon, then that will hopefully mean that any money we make in the summer, we don't have to spend on other things.
I think it's the thing where they were trying to negotiate with us for a little bit.
We're trying to get out of the deal because he's been dog poo.
I think they were offering us. I think they were offering us less to take him earlier permanently. So I think that was to go. Here you go. You can get the money right now.
They just wanted to rip up that initial deal because we've had their pants down. How we got our money back for him defies belief.
Now I think Juventus have just shrugged their shoulders and gone, right, it's nothing we can do. So I think that'll be coming in next season. So I forgot about that. So if hopefully we actually get that. That's 30 mil. So here's the thing is, if the club actually gave us the money next season, which they're not going to, but think about it, that's minimum 70 mil right there if they gave us that. 40 for Gordon, because it was all up front for Gordon, wasn't it? They just paid up front.
I think most of it was, yeah. I think, I don't know I know all of it wasn't. I know some of it will depend on Newcastle getting in the Champions League and Newcastle, I think, maybe winning a trophy, but it was a better deal than the one Chelsea were offering us in the summer. Chelsea wants to pay us in instalments, whereas with Newcastle it was a big lump sum up front, which was good.
Well, I think so. Minimum, and that's just going off pure guesses. That's probably about 60, 65 mil up front. I think the club has to look at that and go. I pray it's a thing where we've gone a Gordon, and I pray it's somewhat where Dyche has gone. Keep the money for next summer. I pray where Dyche has looked at the options and gone, nothing here is worth what we could spend on. Wait until the summer. Because he said something along those lines. And because I think the one lad we were looking at massively was the Coventry lad.
From Coventry lad, yeah.
And to be fair, I really wanted him. I still do now.
Yeah,
but I think Coventry for the position
Coventry had us over a barrel, didn't he?
Yeah, I think in the summer we could come back and go, do you remember that 15 mil we were offering you in January? Yeah, come on, take it now. You've got no choice, lads. I think he'd be a really good one because I think he's the one who can play as a lone striker, and then he's technically gifted enough to play really well alongside Calvert-Lewin as well. I think that would be really good business from us.
He did say, Dyche, didn't he, in that initial press conference he did, when they were asking him a lot about why we didn't sign a striker. He said, I don't believe in just, adding someone to the group for the sake of adding a group. So I do think that is probably true what you said. He's probably looked at the squad and said, you know what, I've got enough here to keep us up. We don't have to waste 10, 15 million now on a player who might not work out. We don't have to do what we did with Dele Alli summer before. Where I know we didn't actually have to pay any money for Dele Alli up front, but we locked ourselves into a deal, a commitment to pay X amount of money for Dele Alli. And we had absolutely no guarantee at all that Dele Alli was going to make any difference for us. And he didn't make any difference for us other than that 45 minutes against Crystal Palace.
I could see him given a second chance, I can see. Because my thing is, how many... He's 3 or 4 games off us paying the first 10 mil, and it's competitive fixtures, I think. So
league games, it's league games. He's got to play 20 league games, and then we've got to give Tottenham 10 million. We've got to pay 40 million, or we've committed to paying them 40 million, but it's in instalments. So he has to play 80 league games for Everton before they get that entire 40 million. 10 million across 20. He's played about 13, 14. He's not coming back, mate. Do you think he's a Sean Dyche player?
Giving him a pre-season and stuff and going, well, I've got no risk if I play you in pre-season. I think he'll definitely play pre-season.
I think Dyche will.
A really good pre-season. I could see him getting a league game or 2 at the start, and then if he's crap, Dyche just going. Because I don't see why not. Honestly, I don't see why not.
Because he's not. You got to remember, he's on a lot of wages, isn't he? But I don't think Dyche would do to him what Koeman did to Niasse. I don't think he's going to get treated like that, where he's told to just clear his lockers out and get out, type of thing. But if Dyche is not going to play Yerry Mina because he's got no plan for him going forwards, then I can't believe he's going to make any plans for Dele Alli. He said it himself, Sean Dyche, you've got to wear. You've got to be a player who leaves sweat on the shirt. And Dele Alli, for whatever reason, whether it's because he just isn't bothered enough, whether it's because he doesn't trust his body anymore because he's had injuries as well, whether it's because he's got some other problem that means he can't focus on his football, I don't know. But Dele Alli's career is just, it's down the toilet, and it's basically irretrievable at this point. If Sean Dyche, I don't think, is going to waste his time on Dele Alli unless Dele Alli comes back first day of pre-season and is absolutely smashing it and is back to the Dele Alli he was in 2018. Then I don't think we're going to see him in a competitive game for Everton again. And you can always hope, can't you? But it's 1 in a million for me. I do not think Sean Dyche is going to use Dele Alli at all.
I just don't see anyone else signing him to the point where Dyche is like, look, because I think Dyche is one of those managers that look at him and go, I can get something out of you if you give me the same effort I'm going to give you. So I think Dyche will definitely try with him. I'd be beyond shocked if Dyche just says, like you said, just gives him the Niasse Coleman treatment and just goes, see you later. Because Erwin puts here, he's 26. He's an
old 26 though, Dele Alli. He burst onto the scene very early. Yeah, he burst onto the scene very early, and he's had injuries and he played a lot of games. Realistically, he's about 30, 31. But yeah, I don't think Dyche is going to do to him what Koeman did to Niasse, but I don't think Dyche is going to waste his time saying to Dele Alli in the summer, right, I'll give you a fair chance as long as you commit. I think Sean Dyche is not that naive. I think Sean Dyche has seen enough of Dele Alli in the last few years to just know that it's an unsalvageable job and he'd just be wasting his time. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Dyche will do what you're saying, but if Sean Dyche is the fella that we all think he is, I don't think Sean Dyche is going to bother.
No, I think Dele Alli has to put the effort in with him, not the other way around. Dele Alli has to come back desperate to prove himself,
which I don't think he will.
Up to it. No,
maybe, but
I don't think so either. But I think it's a thing now where is Dele Alli going to look at it and go, well, I've failed everywhere else now. This is my is it? They're going to be the thing where people look at it and go, because if Dele Alli's motivated by money, let's say for example, is Dele Alli going to look at it and go, if I don't do anything now, that's it. But the only problem is he could live like this for the rest of his life. I think, like I said, I think pre-season will be a teller for us because I think that'll be a real teller. But I think even Crystal Palace showed it's still the frustrating thing is it's still clearly there when he puts the effort in. I think it is. Crystal Palace showed it that the ability is still there, and I think that's the worst part about him compared to other players. Where, for example, we sign a young player and it just don't work out. With Dele Alli, it's the frustration that we've seen that version of Dele Alli, not like 2016, 2017, but like 2019.
There's a player there who can still do a job somewhere for somebody.
Definitely
I think that summer you're talking about where Dele Alli has to look around and say to himself, kind of, where do I go from here? If I don't make a success of this, then it's all over. I think he's just had that summer, mate. I think that's what it was last summer, and he didn't do it, and that's why the club washed its hands of him and packed him off to Turkey then. When he comes back, because Turkey, Gas are not going to sign him, even if they had the money, they don't want him. Booing him off the pitch, aren't they? He'll go to MLS, or he'll go to another backwater somewhere in Europe.
Into Miami.
Into Miami, or to
Rooney's team, or
to Nice, where Barkley's gone, or just somewhere where he can have an easy life. I think we've seen the last of Dele Alli, not only in an Everton shit. I think we've seen the last of Dele Alli in the Premier League, in a serious league. We'll just do to him what we're doing to John Villa-Bam, and what we did to Ashley Williams, what we did to Sandro. We'll just keep loaning him out until his contract expires, because he only signs a 2.5 year deal. His deal runs out not this summer coming, the summer of 2024. Didn't sign a long deal. There's nothing for Dele Alli. He'll finish up his loan at Turkey. He'll come back to us. He'll go out on loan again to wherever, and then when his deal runs out at us, wherever he goes from there. Whether he goes to Australia or Antarctica or America, he's another player like Mina. Whereas as soon as his contract runs out, he's not Everton's problem anymore. I couldn't care less what he does. Don't wish bad on him. I hope he has a nice life, because he doesn't seem like he's a bad fella at heart. I know some people don't like him, and he's had a couple of instances where he's on Twitter and things like that. I don't really want to go into it, but he just doesn't seem to. He hasn't killed anybody. He hasn't ran anyone over with his car. He hasn't robbed anyone out of any money. He just seems like he's a bit of a divvy who's got a lot of money very early and has stopped caring. And okay, he doesn't have to care, does he? But do it on someone else's dime.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where obviously all Everton fans want it to work out, because obviously if it works out, we look like geniuses. The club look like they've made Spurs look like fools. But I think
we're just a big-hearted fan base. We're a fan base. People with big hearts have hot blood. That's why Evertonians get so wound up at times, because we've got a big heart. We want to love players. We want to love our club, and when people make it impossible for us to do that, we get angry. We want to offer Dele Alli a home. We went out of our way to help him. We did the same with Moise Keane, getting that big banner for him saying Everton against racism, and we'll look after your son and things like that. And when Dele came and he got slagged off in the media for his appearance by Glenn Hoddle and the like, and Evertonians kind of pushed back against that and saying, leave Dele Alli alone. How dare you make these horrible sort of assumptions just because you don't like how he's dressed. Dele Alli's, you don't know anything about Dele Alli. We defended him, and he hasn't, he didn't put up his end of the bargain. He didn't justify our defence of him and our faith in him.
No, massively.
Evertonians are a very big-hearted fan base, and as you said, we love a redemption art. We love to take people in and make them feel like they're one of us and see them repay us for our love. But he's not the first person to do it, and sadly, probably won't be the last. He hasn't retained our affections, has he? So
there'll be another in the summer, I guarantee. Or in 2-3 years' time, when Anthony Gordon flops at Newcastle, he's coming straight back here. It's written in the stars.
He better not, mate. It's like Ross Barkley. Barkley was trying desperately to come back in the summer. He was floating the idea, wasn't he? Putting the diamonds back up on his Instagram and all his Everton pictures, and quite rightly, he was told to do one, wasn't he, by the fan base?
Yeah, so, and he's been terrible at Nice. I
haven't even watched them. Couldn't tell you what he's doing at Nice. Same.
I just think
out of my headspace. Don't care what you do, mate.
I just think he's been Ross Barkley,
Got ability, but no brain. Yeah.
No, I think that's it. And I think we'll end it there, because we've been here for an hour and 25 minutes now.
Yeah, and I'm still pure paranoid. I keep looking down because I keep picturing the spider crawling up my feet.
Don't you
And
can
like
make me
the odd
sour.
little,
I hate them as well.
the
I'll
odd
start.
little Hoover noise, yeah, I'm gonna try
Yeah.
and grab it. But
Right.
right, we've had a good run. It's 9:30 now. I'll make one last look to, kill this Mina in insect form, and yeah, things are looking relatively better for Evertonians. We're still deep in the mire, but at least we've got hope now. And 6-7 weeks ago, I had no hope at all. And I think we've got the manager to get us out of trouble, and we've got a squad that should be good enough to get us out of trouble. It just depends on whether things can go our way and whether we can deliver what we should be delivering. So fingers crossed, everybody.
Yeah. Well, the official channel puts. Oh, there we go. From the top.
Thanks very much, boys. 29 years young today. I feel very, very fat because of eating lots. So I need to get back in the gym and slim down a bit. But today was I got my birthday wish. I wanted a 3 points for Everton, and I got it yesterday. So all good weekends all round.
Yeah, well, that's it. So I think that's all we're going to do anyway. Thank you for coming on, Paul, and from me, happy birthday.
Thanks, buddy. Up the F and Toffees.
Right, thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy, please make sure
Death to
like and
spiders.
subscribe. And follow us on Twitter. Follow me and Paul on Twitter. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next live stream. Goodbye, everyone.